everything should be autonomous within the company, and also the people, they should be able to make their own decision. And I have to say that our people is really the reason why we can move so fast. And we have hired some of the brightest people in the industry. They dare to take risks, they dare to approach things in a new way, and they dare to just run very fast and win very fast.
You think you know me?
On this day, I see clearly.
You're listening to the Security VIP podcast, hosted by Taylor May, the official podcast of the security industry and home of nothing but the truth. Today on Security VIP, we feature the CEO of Arcules, Andreas Pettersson. Get ready for nothing but the truth.
Security VIP Nation, what is going on? We are officially back with season 2 of our podcast series, and I could not be any more excited to kick off 2021 with our first VIP guest today. For those who do not know me, my name is Taylor May. I'm the owner and host of the Security VIP podcast, the official podcast of the security industry and home of nothing but the truth. If you missed season 1 of my podcast series, Security VIP is all about featuring the best of best people here in the security industry who spread nothing but the truth about what this industry is all about. And today's guest is no different. As we saw COVID-19 impact us all greatly last year, and even still today, the conversations about moving your infrastructure to the cloud became arguably one of the most highly talked about topics of 2020. However, with many unknowns still in play, questions have come to light when speaking about cloud-based solutions, such as how have they evolved since they were first introduced years ago? How expensive is it? What are the potential bandwidth or latency issues that I need to be concerned about when processing through it? And my personal favorite, what the hell is even the cloud? Well, all this and more will be addressed and answered today on this episode because I only have the best of the best when it comes to cloud-based solutions. So with that being said, it is my pleasure to welcome and introduce the CEO of Arcules, Mr. Andreas Pettersson, to the Security VIP podcast today. Andreas, how are we doing today, brother?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you taking the time. And I know we live in a different world. I know 2020 is behind us, but we're here in 2021. We're still adapting to this new normal. Hopefully we get to a point till we can get back to work. I know you mentioned earlier in the preview that you actually enjoy working from the house. And I have to agree with you. You know, my wife might not agree with me working from the house, but sometimes, you know, it's nice to kick back and stay at home for a little bit.
Most days, I have to say it's a pleasure. I actually cherish this year, and I have to say, I mean, spending all the time with your kids while doing business, you can't have it any better.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And Andreas, your story is special, man. I did some, you can call it some creeping on LinkedIn about you. And I've been wanting to have you on my podcast series for some time, but you came from Milestone, which is a sister company of Arcules. But tell us about your experience in the industry, man. We'd love to highlight it more.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm the CEO of Arcules, as you already said. I lead the Arcules team in the strategic work to basically create, deploy, and position our cloud security platform. I did start out Arcules as the Chief Technology Officer back in 2017. Before that, I have about 14 years. Wow, time flies. Years of international experience, leading anything from engineering team to marketing to product management teams. And just before joining or being part of the startup of Arcules, I led a product management team for the incubation and ventures at Milestone. And I've been working with Arcules now for the last 4 years. And the summary is, I love it.
That's great to hear. And, you know, cloud-based solutions, my God, when I first joined the industry, they were talking about cloud-based solutions, and it's been such a hot item, I feel like, this past year. I'm not sure if you know Tom Cook of Hanwha, but he's the VP of sales over there. And he told me, Taylor, you know what, the next phenomenon that's going to hit the market strong is cloud and edge computing and all these things we talk about in the industry. So give us a high-level view of what Arcules is all about.
Yeah, so Arcules is part of the Canon Group, which also consists of Access, Milestone, and BriefCam. And we create a cloud-based security platform that is that actually solves several problems in the cloud space. So we have both a pure cloud, we have a hybrid cloud solution, as well as an edge cloud for companies who doesn't have that much bandwidth, but still want to use all the advantages of the cloud. And what we offer is a unified experience. We have video surveillance, we have access control, we do video analytics. And this has been the theme of unifying everything is something that is absolutely driven by the IT community, where they want to have one single experience to manage all their different devices across the world, basically. And yeah, our goal is to basically make sure that through the cloud, all companies can access any video surveillance feed from anywhere in the world at any time. But before we move on to the next question, I want to say one of the things that I think make us really unique is that we really took a mindset that everything should be autonomous within the company, and also the people, they should be able to make their own decision. And I have to say that our people is really the reason why we can move so fast. And we have hired some of the brightest people in the industry. They dare to take risks, they dare to approach things in a new way, and they dare to just run very fast and win very fast, basically. So that's the super, or not that quick, but fairly quick introduction of who Arcules is.
That's great to hear. And you spotted on a couple things I want to highlight for our listeners is JC Powell Bonita. I quote this all the time from season 1. He tells me, Taylor, in this industry, people buy from people, but people buy from people who they trust. And best of breed people, best of breed technologies. That sounds like the mindset at Arcules. And I love to hear that kind of tenacity about you guys. Also, you mentioned unified, have everything in a unified platform, an open community, something Tim Palmquist stressed out all the time at Milestone Conference at MIPS. That's what this industry is all about, right? We have to have an open system where we can have third-party integrations, we can have feature sets, customizations, but have that in a cloud environment, which what Arcules provides is, game-changing right now, I think, in this industry. So, Andreas, walk us through the go-to-market strategy, man. Is it, direct to consumer, dealers, distribution, OEM partners? What does that look like?
So we always sell through a channel partner, and we work primarily with system integrators or IT VARs today. But I also want to use this opportunity to say we are looking for more partners that are really thinking in a modernized way, and that really drives sort of the transition more to an IT-centric and digital transformation type of deployment, both in physical security as well as for outside in other industries.
Well, hopefully after this episode goes live, we got a lot more partners heading towards Arcules so they can sign up and be a reseller and a distributor for you guys, man. I'd love to hear that market strategy. And let's move on here, Andreas. COVID-19, I don't want to talk about it as much as you don't want to talk about it, but it is the elephant always in the room. And I want to talk about some of the positives that COVID-19 has brought to us, because I think it's been a highlight for cloud solutions in particular. With most people working from the house, some people trying to find a way new normal, some states are reopened safely. How has COVID-19 positively impacted the business for you guys?
So first of all, when this hit back last year, we got a lot of interest very fast. And it wasn't from the small to mid-sized company, it was very large global companies. And they were basically scrambling to figure out how would they start working remotely and how would they sort of do that digital transformation, not within years, not in months, but like within weeks. And many of them were all built around on-premise solution. So they were struggling. And I'll get back to it later, but one of the key advantages we have is if you have an IP camera, and we're open, and I appreciate that you also appreciate that. It is the great concept of our industry. We work with thousands of cameras. So the key message to them was like, yep, bring what you already have, keep your existing cameras, and we'll make sure that we move you to the cloud. And that way you can do remote management, you can access any user, do whatever you need to do to watch your facilities when no one is there. So that was a big thing. Another thing we got request for very early on was once everyone starts going back to the office, we need to be controlling who is there, how many people are there, and at what time of the day. So things like occupancy counting or thermal screening came up fairly quickly. And I have to say, of the two, the occupancy counting was the one that absolutely received the most interest early on.
Right.
On the topic of COVID, I just want to say one more thing. We as a company, and again, back to our culture and our people, we are set up for remote work already. Even though we have an office, we all spend time there and we enjoy the company of one another, we could basically switch to remote work over the day. Everything is in the cloud, not only from the service we're providing, but all the tools we're using. So we actually saw production or increase of productivity, especially within the developer groups, from day one. And while we actually saw some other companies that had a hard time to transition to new normal or temporary normal or whatever we want to call it for now. But as of right now, we are, how do I say, it's good for business, but we are all a little bit COVID fatigued right now, or a little tired. So hopefully new normal will come soon.
I think we're all experiencing a little fatigue with this pandemic, as well as Zoom sessions too. I know we get burnt out sometimes of doing these virtual sessions, but that's really good insight you brought up there. I'm glad it's anytime you can take a negative and turn it to a positive, especially with something we're all going through, it's a huge shout out to your company and what you guys are doing over there at Arcules. So I think that's special. My next question, Andreas, is a Milestone question. You came from Milestone, and I know you guys work in tail with Milestone as well. Talk about that relationship with the company, maybe some top verticals that you guys kind of hit on the most.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm a big fan of Milestone. Of course, that's where I have my roots in our industry. We are a Milestone technology partner. We do have a cloud hybrid solution where basically you can think of it like you can use Expertech Corporate or one of Milestone's larger products, deploy that at the headquarters, and then you're going to need something out on all the remote locations around the world. That's where it's very easy to just drop in an Arcules gateway, connect it to our cloud service, and then from corporate, it's one username, one password, and you can import basically all the sites and all the cameras around the world. So facilities, any office buildings, remote sales offices, especially for tech companies, seems to be the largest opportunity for us so far. And again, what I think is important is that many people forget that you can still utilize basically all the features and all the values of a Milestone system, but getting all the remote management and all the connectivity that Arcules brings to the table. So organizations that scales globally, perfect solution.
Have you seen with your customers that majority of them are reactive or proactive to cloud? Or are they finding certain verticals that you guys work with that, hey, I want to move my things more to the cloud, more to edge computing, more processing power out there? Do you find clients like that have more proactiveness, or are they still resistant? What are your thoughts?
No, so we actually absolutely have companies. Any company that has a little bit more, how do I say, long-term planned IT strategy, or they already moved most of their other systems to the cloud over the last 5-10 years. They usually have a direction from their higher ups in the company that we're going to go all cloud for our services. And those companies, it's more a matter of pairing up their IT teams with our product teams and to sort of help educate on how does our solution operate within their network, so to say, on the local network. The key thing we see these companies often struggle with is that many of them want to go pure cloud directly, and they want to upload a lot of data into the cloud, but they usually lack the bandwidth to do so. That has absolutely been a blocker, the bandwidth. So that's why end of last year, we released our Edge Cloud, which is basically bring in your own storage solution, keep that on-prem, store all your video on-prem, but have all the rest of the benefits of the Arcules Cloud, all the remote management, everything, with barely consuming any bandwidth. And since we launched that has actually generated a lot of interest. And we have several customers now that see this as a great opportunity to go after all those sites that they historically was like, yeah, we have to wait 3 to 5 years till we have the bandwidth. Now they can actually go and enable all the benefits of the cloud for those sites without major infrastructure overhaul, basically. The second thing I want to say is, but it's becoming less. I think people are getting more educated on this right now, and that is sometimes we get cybersecurity questions, and I always ask them what they're using today and what they have today. And many people have deployed on-premise systems that are cloud connected to some extent. And my view on this is, and so same view as many other people that are more IT centric, is that the cloud is more secure than keeping up with patching anything you have on premise. And even if you have it on premise, you're always going to have some remote connectivity into that system. And it's often not as secure as a cloud solution with a immutable security infrastructure. And basically everything spread out across the entire platform, making any vulnerability much smaller.
Speaking nothing but the truth on this podcast. I love it. You know, you're hitting on my next question anyway, because some of those challenges that you spoke about is the bandwidth concerns. You got the latency concerns. You know, you talk about AI in particular, all these analytics running through the cloud. People have concerns, and you know, Cherokee Nation out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, it was a client of mine at my last employer. They run Milestone Expert. So Josh Anderson and John Underwood, you know, they got 10 casinos in their tribe. They consolidated everything to Milestone. And I asked them the question. I've had on my podcast multiple times. I asked them about the cloud in particular, and some of those you know, challenges that I just spoke about, you just answered for me. So the bandwidth concerns, I think, is huge. It's a huge value add. But what other challenges do you see out there when it comes to cloud, Andreas, and how are you guys solving those?
Yeah, so we're basically, it's an education discussion often, and I think a lot of the problems that you saw with cloud years ago, they don't exist anymore. The new, well, it depends. I mean, we meet people that are, how do I say, companies that are taking an on-premise technology and they're putting that into the cloud and calling it cloud. And that doesn't always work that good because you don't get all the benefits from it, but you also then sort of, you trick your partner into thinking that this is the cloud, and then they don't see the difference. So I think a lot, back to what I said, it's a lot about education. It's a lot about showing how we are secure, showing how we can have connectivity around the world, anytime, any place, and you can access all your data in a secure manner. I think that education will over time make cloud the dominant deployment for physical security.
Yeah, I tend to agree that. And I think the biggest hiccup with cloud in the past, you know, I hate to talk about it, you know, price is always a factor though, right? You know, the cost of running software or even third-party analytics in the cloud has been, I think, not really cost effective. But I would imagine though, with you guys, talk about, you know, you got a different opinion. Let's talk about that, because I know price is a hot item with a lot of customers when it talks about their infrastructure. How is price structured with you guys at Arcules?
So we actually are very flexible. We start at a single digit dollars per month per camera if you have your own recordings, all the way up to $20, $25 depending on what you're trying to do. And then, but we're very flexible in the sense that we allow our partners to buy our solution. They can buy 1 year, 3 year, whatever they want to buy, and we can of course make it more attractive for them buying longer term. I think one of the things people often forget is it costs a lot of time and people to constantly be updating these remote on-premise systems. One of the things, when we started the company, we did massive market interviews with integrators and end customers. And I know this sounds bad, maybe even in these days and day of time, but I kept hearing, if I see another remote desktop, I'll kill myself. And I know that sounds horrible, but what that means is why? And we met one customer, they had 200 locations, and they had a team of 3 people, and their entire job all year round was to basically maintain and update these systems. And when we explained to them that, well, that's great, we don't want you to lose your job. Do you have other things that are pressing? Yeah, we never get to these projects and these projects and these projects. And then we said, well, what if we could take care of that for you? So we do all the updates. Everything is updated within seconds as we release. And we in Arcules, right now, we're releasing 1 to 2 times a week new functionality. And we're trying to make that continuous deployment, so daily releases. And it's automatic. The user won't even notice unless they see a new feature. So again, think of the cost of all those employees, all those equipment, all those cooling rooms that you have to put in place in order to support that infrastructure. And especially right now, when everyone started working remotely, imagine how many projects they had in the IT team or in the physical security team that they had to resolve on top of the normal business. So I would claim that any facility manager, IT manager, physical security manager can do so much more with a cloud solution. And if you look at it from that perspective and you look at it from a pure TCO perspective, I will argue it's not that much more expensive, if at all.
I believe Nigel will be very proud of you right now for that little spiel that you just gave. That's a huge shout out to you. I definitely agree, because if you can sell value over cost any day and people understand that and they appreciate that, then, price should never be a factor. Even working for my new employer with zero-wise active shooter scenario, what's the cost of a life? You could always say in my scenario. So same kind of concept. What are you evaluating the time and energy spent to update these systems? You guys do it autonomously. End users don't even know about it, but they're getting these features all included. So I definitely do respect that, and I do appreciate that value aspect. So goals for 2021 as we kick off January here. We're midway in January. What are some goals for the CEO of Arcules for 2021? Let's hear it.
So our PR team will kill me here, but world domination.
Love it.
We are spending quite some time. We're spending some time on. Right now, we are active in APAC, Europe, and North America, and just started with LATAM. But one of the things we have as our advantages is that we're running on Google's public cloud platform. That basically allows us to, within weeks, push out a new data center, and that is very secure and that scales instantly. So when I say world domination, let's say call it global expansion instead. And I would say the other big goal here is we're absolutely capitalizing or taking not advantage, but there is a clear interest in cloud, as you also pointed out right now. And I think that wave will keep on growing. Another thing that I think is important to mention here is not only the COVID-19 situation trigger the interest for remote management of your system, we also noticed that a lot of integrators showed massive interest in working with us because they are built on capital expenditure or project sales. What we offer, our business model is monthly recurring cost or sales. Well, again, you can pay up front, but in the end, it's something that pays all the time. So now that everyone went back and worked remotely, they still have an opportunity to make money on deployments and sales they already made. So one of the key goals we have is to push awareness out, as I just did, about the value of working with a monthly recurring revenue type of business and OPEX business compared to a CapEx business where it's project sales all the time. And I think people will remember this COVID-19 for quite some time and the impact it had on the business. And I think a lot of them will also prepare for, should something like this happen again, how do I reduce the risk I currently have on my business and make it across this time frame where we are isolated. So a little bit longer answer there, but those are the goals for 2021.
Education is key, and talking with the right people in the industry to talk about this topic is definitely the right approach as well. So that is why I have Andreas on my podcast, guys, because Arcules is the best in breed cloud solutions provider. I will mandate that on my podcast series. Something else right there on the industry right now that does what they do, and to do it more in an efficient and optimate manner. So definitely want to give kudos there. My last and final question, Andreas, is a question that I ask all my guests on my podcast series. It's a 60-second hot seat. Let's say I know all the sales guys on their team want to hear the big dog, want to hear the big boss CEO highlight you guys in a 60-second hot seat. So if I was a customer, why would I buy Arcules? Let's hear it. 60 seconds.
BYOC. Bring your own cameras. We support thousands of your existing cameras. There is no large upfront capital investment you have to do, and you don't need to rip and replace with something that is a proprietary jail that gives you a brick on the wall after a few years. Use what you have, bring it to us. We're an open cloud security platform, and you can move to the cloud today.
Love it. I love it. That's a great start for the next season of my podcast. I love to hear these 60-second pitches. And Andreas, for those that have more questions, we'll learn more about the company. What's the contact information, website, phone number, email? Let's hear it.
Start with arcules.com. Send in an interest there. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Nigel Waterton, our CRO, connect with him on LinkedIn as well. We do monitor that, and we try to be very active and responding in time there. Integrators out there that want to move to the cloud, come work with us. We'll make you successful.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you, Andreas, for so much for taking the time today to be on my podcast series. And for those that have questions, comments, or concerns, you can email me at info@securityvip.net. Once again, that's info@securityvip.net. My episodes of my podcast series are published on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Spotify. So make sure to check them out on all my social media sites. Make sure to check in on this episode, particularly with Arcules and Andreas, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay safe out there.
You better recognize